Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Golden Eagle Sports Report.
Tonight, we're going to discuss all things Marquette basketball, including Big East tournament results, National Marquette Day, and more.
So get ready, Marquette Nation, because Golden Eagle Sports Report starts right now.
Slam dunk! Oh, that's a poster. Live from the Jeannie Hayes Virtual Studio at Marquette University, this is Golden Eagles Sports Report.
Marquette gets the rebound, and the champions have gone down!
Hello, everyone. I'm Kristen Parisi.
And I'm Shane Hogan.
The women's basketball team had another impressive Big East tournament run, making it to the finals for the 5th straight year. They look to carry this momentum heading into the NCAA tournament.
We're now going to send it over to Tyler Peters, who's outside the Al McGuire Center to discuss more about the team. Tyler?
Well, you guys used the term impressive to describe this team's Big East tournament run, but what's even more impressive is the fact that they've now made the Big East finals for 5 straight seasons in a row. It's an incredible accomplishment for a team that's been looking to establish itself on the national level over the last several years. And yes, they did have that tough loss against the UConn Huskies the other night, in which they fell 73-39. But it's tough to beat any team in this conference on any given night, especially when that team is ranked #1 in the nation, as the Huskies are. Looking ahead, Selection Monday is just a few days away, and Marquette will probably range anywhere between a 7 to 10 seed when it's all said and done. And now there is a little bit of a layoff period between now and when the tournament starts, which begins on March 21st in San Antonio, Texas. But Duffy says the team plans to use this time to refresh and reload themselves as they prepare for another tournament run and look to also make the Sweet 16 for the first time in program history. Shane, Kristen, back to you.
Thank you, Tyler. And as you said, the Marquette women's basketball team suffered a heartbreaking 73-39 loss against UConn on Monday in the Big East title game.
This was the 5th straight appearance in the Big East title game for the Golden Eagles and their 4th straight loss. The last time the team brought home the trophy was in 2017 when Marquette beat DePaul 86-78.
This was Megan Duffy's 2nd loss in the Big East title game since she took over in 2019. But as I found out, Duffy is still in high spirits after an impressive Big East tourney run before they head to Texas for the NCAA tournament. It was another busy weekend for the Marquette women's basketball team. The Golden Eagles traveled to Mohegan Sun Arena in Uncasville, Connecticut for the Big East tournament, in hopes of reaching the Big East title game for the 5th straight year. In their first game, the women cruised to a 68-43 win against Providence and headed to their 5th straight semifinal game. The next day, the ladies won a close one against Creighton, 64-59. Redshirt senior Lauren Van Clunen joined her teammate Selena Lott in the 1,000-point club and became the 31st player in Marquette history to reach this milestone. After the game, Lott wasted no time congratulating her best friend on her achievement.
I mean, yeah, Lauren's my girl. I mean, we've been going for 4 years now, and it's just the heart and hustle that Lauren has, the grind, like Coach said, is just amazing. It's so beautiful to see her succeed. So I love every moment of it.
The Golden Eagles matched up against the #1 team in the country, the UConn Huskies, in hopes of winning their first title game since 2017 when they beat DePaul 86-78. Right off the bat, the Huskies came out strong and the Golden Eagles had no answer. UConn went on to beat Marquette 73-39 to win their 19th Big East title. Although the Golden Eagles were playing dominant all tournament, Duffy was shocked at how her team came out against UConn. Even though her team was upset in the title game, Duffy's glad that they have this experience under their belt and have time to relax and turn the page for a fresh start as they get set to play in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, it was crushing last year, as so many teams felt. But what I think when you lose and get your butt beat pretty good in the final is you get a chance to kind of reset yourself and reload and look at everything. You know, we get a little time now to catch our breath. So I'm now a little bit going to turn the page and be excited about prepping our team and, you know, getting back in that gym and, you know, just be thankful for the opportunity that we're going to be able to keep playing in March. And
The selection show for the tournament is set to take place on March 15th, with the tournament starting March 21st in San Antonio, Texas. Kristen Parisi, Marquette Wire Sports. And now we'd like to bring in John Leuzzi for more analysis about the squad. John, welcome back.
It's great to be back, Kristen.
So, John, nothing seemed to go right for the Golden Eagles on Monday. They started off the game down 9-0, 29-10 after the first quarter. So, what did UConn do that caught Marquette so off guard?
All right, so I know you and I like pizza hot when it comes out.
100%.
This is what UConn did. They opened up with the 12-2 run, and Marquette just could not come back from that. And you saw it during times throughout that game. Marquette would get on a run themselves, but they just couldn't overcome the challenge that UConn responded with. And in that first quarter, it was all Kristen Williams. And in my opinion, I don't think Marquette was looking for that performance out of Williams. They were looking a little bit more out of Beckers, who they stopped in the first.
Yeah, and as you said, they had a tough game, but they had some good points throughout the weekend in the tournament. So what did you think Marquette did well throughout the tournament that really helps them going into the NCAA tournament?
I think the biggest thing is that they just continued the bread and butter that it's been of the Duffy era, and that's been driving to the basket and drawing fouls, but also getting the rebounding. And we saw that in their 2 wins, and a little bit unbalanced there in that loss against UConn. But Lauren Van Clunen using a little bit more of that versatility and getting Selena Lott scoring in the first 2 games of the tournament was really big as well.
Yeah, one of the biggest keys was Lauren Van Clunen hitting her 1,000 career point milestone Sunday night against Creighton. So how does this cement the redshirt senior in kind of the Marquette women's basketball legacy as she became only the 31st player in history to hit this milestone?
I think her legacy speaks volumes on and off the court. On the court, it's just her versatility, like I mentioned moments ago, just being able to build her game from last season, which was a breakout season, into her redshirt senior season this year, becoming a little bit more of a scoring threat. We knew she was going to be a rebounding threat, but becoming scoring. She's even hitting some three-pointers. She's showing Marcus Howard up a little bit there. So I like that from Van Clunen, but she's really big in the leadership standpoint, on and off the court, and I think that's what's really going to speak about her legacy come her time ends here at Marquette.
Yeah, and I agree. But coming up on Monday, March 15th, is the selection for March Madness. What do you think is an appropriate ranking for the Golden Eagles, and how do you think Marquette will do in the tournament?
Well, Tyler said they can fall anywhere between 7 and 10. I say they're at an 8 right now. And I made sure I look it up there. So I think they're going to finish at a 7, and I think they could even make a run for the Sweet 16 first time in their career.
Well, we'll definitely be following that. But, John, thank you so much for coming. It's been a pleasure. When we come back, we'll be recapping the win on National Marquette Day for the men's team. Golden Eagles Sports Report, we'll be right back.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown, and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Smokey, catch! Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Okay, Dad. 1, 2, 3. You saved me. Dad?
Are you okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
You told me not to talk to strangers. You told me not to cross the street without looking both ways.
You told me not to touch the stove.
You told me not to do drugs.
You told me not to drink and drive.
You gave me so many messages about how to stay safe. Why didn't you keep me safe by properly storing your gun?
Welcome back to Golden Eagles Sports Report. Once again, I'm Kristen Parisi.
And I'm Shane Hogan.
Switching over to the men's basketball team, they started their week with a victorious National Marquette Day this past Saturday.
It was also Senior Day, celebrating Theo John, Jamal Cain, and Kobe McEwen. And as I found out, this senior class wants to reflect on their time both on and off the court. Senior Day should be filled with memories and celebration. And even in the year of COVID-19, the Marquette men's basketball seniors got a little taste of that tradition. The senior class of Jamal Cain, Theo John, and Kobe McEwen have played in a combined 297 career games for Marquette. However, as they reflect on their careers, they realize there's more than just stats and numbers.
I want to say, first, the relationships that I have built with my teammates. Those guys are brothers to me. We've been through a lot together, and I feel like for me it was challenging, but it was also gonna, prove who I was as a person. I don't run away from challenges, and there was a challenge, and I was ready for it, and I stayed mentally ready, and that's how I was able to, to get through my career here at Marquette.
Head coach Steve Wojciechowski knows that this group of players have left their mark on the program and university.
I thought Theo, Kobe, Jamal, all those guys took leadership positions, not only in our program, but the university, to speak from the heart and try to educate the people around them about what's right and what's not. And I'm completely confident that as they begin the next chapter in their life, they will bring that type of character and leadership to whatever communities they're in.
And for Theo John, he values the lessons he's learned off the court.
Anything is possible if you put your mind to it. And then I've also learned a lot of things off the court with social justice in our country, and just learned a lot about myself and just going through all of that. I say it's been a very, very good 4 years here. And I feel like I've learned a lot about myself, both on the court and off the court.
This senior class won't be remembered for their tournament wins and broken records, but they will be known for the impact they made in the Marquette community. I'm Shane Hogan, Marquette Wire Sports.
The Golden Eagles defeated Xavier 66-59 last Saturday, with DJ Carton leading the way with 16 points and 7 boards.
The senior Met players were responsible for over a third of the team's points, with Jamal Cain leading the way with 13 points and 7 rebounds.
And to take us through some of the team's top highlights from their big win, we welcome in beat reporter Matt Yazel.
Welcome back, Matt. Good to have you.
It's great to be here.
All right, let's before we get to those highlights, though, we got to talk about the biggest day on the calendar for Marquette, National Marquette Day. How important is it for this program, regardless of what happens, to get a win on that day?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a holiday for this campus and something people look forward to all year. We weren't sure what it was going to look like this year, but
yeah, that's a good point.
Making it a combo, National Marquette Day, Senior Day, big win over a team vying for a tournament spot. Overall, great day for this campus.
A lot of emotions, too.
Yeah, and having fans in the building for the first time this year. Overall, just kind of all came together in a great way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. So, all right, Matt, so let's take us through some of the top plays of the game.
Yeah, let's see what you got.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to start off here in the first half. Some great ball movement here, something that Marquette fans have been asking for from this team for a while. You see some good passing all around the court, 4 different players touching the ball. And what does good ball movement lead to? Good shots. Wide open shot there for the senior, Jamal Cain.
So athletic, Jamal Cain, man.
Absolutely. His senior night as well. And then DJ Carton, who really has been the best player for this team at the end of the year, he gets a nice Euro step here for a beautiful layup, showing his dribbling ability as he's taken over as the point guard for this team. And another guy who's had a strong end to his season, Greg Elliott. Nice pump fake there, wide open jumper. He took over in the starting lineup for Kobe McEwen and had a nice end this season. Now, going on to the second half, Shane, when you get double teamed in basketball, what happens?
Wide open.
Somebody else gets open. Dawson Garcia is good enough to know that, hits Jamal Cain for a wide open 3, and he knocks it down. And Garcia was working all over the place, passing, scoring here, feeds it down to John. He gets double teamed. What does he do? Dishes it to his man down low.
Great high-low action there between the big guys.
Garcia's been an incredible first year for the team.
Absolutely. Physical finish down low. Here, him and his point guard, DJ Carton, working. Garcia sees he has the mismatch on the smaller defender. What does he do? Backs him down.
Just great footwork.
Smart play, smart play right there.
Finishes the play. And now here another senior, Kobe McEwen. Maybe not the best end to his career here potentially at Marquette, but nice drive there. He's shown flashes of his finishing ability in his time here. And last highlight here, McEwen giving it to his man down low, fellow senior Theo John throws it down, something we've seen plenty of here in his time as a Golden Eagle.
Theo's abused some backboards in his time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and he's not, and DJ Carton isn't the only dunker on this team. I mean, Theo John, he's been around for a while, and he knows how to throw it down.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And let's talk a little bit more about that senior class. You know, Theo John, Jamal Cain, Kobe McEwen, they've all had really impactful careers here. Who do you think has really stood out the most in their time here?
Like you said, all three, high praise from everyone in this program, from Coach Wojo to their teammates. But I'm going to say Theo John. I think he improved so much over his 4 years here. He, like we said there in the highlights, thrown down some emphatic dunks, got the crowd going, has been in the top of the Big East in blocks most of the years. And then this year, we saw him shoot the ball a little bit.
Yeah,
who would have thought Theo John would hit a three?
And nice little free throw touch, too.
Absolutely. I mean, his free throws were atrocious at first. Then he started knocking them down. So good for Theo John.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Matt, congrats on a great year of coverage of the team. Thanks so much for all the insights. And when we get back, we'll be talking more men's basketball. You don't want to miss it. GSR, we'll be right back.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago, in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Our hearts are made stronger by how we treat others.
Put her there.
The light you share can impact those around you, but so can the darkness.
Later, twerps. Did Pete saying mean things bother you?
So when you reach out to another person, take a moment to consider how they will feel and let your heart be the key to making a difference. Because of you, someone's entire day, year, or even life can change.
In every heart, there's hope.
And we're back in Studio 7 as we will discuss the latest surrounding Marquette men's basketball and their recent elimination from the Big East tournament. Joining me on our panel tonight is Matt Yazel, Zoe Comerford, and Shane Hogan. Let's get started. The Golden Eagles fell to Georgetown Hoyas last night 68-49 in the first round of the Big East tournament. Did Steve Wojciechowski coach his last game for Marquette?
Well, Kristen, I think the answer to that question is simply no. And it's not necessarily because he deserves to coach next year, because personally, if I were in charge, I think it's about time they move on. 7 years, not nearly enough success in the postseason, both Big East tournament-wise and NCAA tournament-wise, for the type of talent that he's had in his program. But in terms of the question, the answer is no, because I just don't think the university has the resources to pull it off right now. He has a big contract. He signed the extension a few years ago. And I think that's really the problem for Marquette right now, is that contract, looking in hindsight. But I just don't think that they have the resources to buy out his contract and to then hire another head coach. But like I said, I think it's time to move on. This year in particular, whether it was a transition year or not, or whether all the COVID stuff going on, every team's dealing with that. But I think if you look at his whole resume, there's just not enough success there to justify him moving forward as the head coach of this team, in my opinion.
Yeah, Matt, and I think you look at it at a very practical reasoning, and I completely agree. I think there is still a possibility of him getting fired. I agree. The resources of the university is the ultimate decision. Is that going to be the final factor? That's what we're going to wait and see. But you got to think about a few things for this team, and that this program and this university needs to think about. Look at the things that have plagued this team, at least since I've been here, and even longer. Turnovers, guard play, and the lack of tournament success. And this is a big one that not many people talk about. People leaving this program under Steve Wojciechowski, mainly players. The Hausers being, the two biggest ones. Those are big issues that this program has dealt with. And I think under his leadership, things have gotten worse in the last few years. You mentioned the fact that this is a transition year. I get that. Losing Marcus Howard, they weren't going to be the same program afterwards. I completely get it. It makes all the sense in the world. But that doesn't mean you can just go lay an egg the following year. I mean, it was an embarrassing season. I think they need to take a real look at this program and decide, do we want to move forward with Steve Wojciechowski?
For sure, Shane, and I think something to mention too, I mean, we've been covering this team for 4 years, and you see the same thing. The last 2 years, they've lost 6 out of their last 7 games. This year was their first year ever that they were 7-7 at home. Never had a losing season at home except for this season. They were at 500. Looking at his tournament resume, he's 4-5 in the Big East tournament, and he's 57% winning as head coach of this program. So you look at all of those different things, and I just think that, the university may not have the funds right now to be able to, pay him for the rest of his, extension. But I also think that you need to think about what he's done with this program, and he really hasn't changed it. And a lot of the things too, he's saying like, oh, COVID. But yes, like Matt said, everybody's dealing with that. And even teams like Duke, they're able to win 2 games in the ACC tournament yesterday and today. And so these are not just these are problems within the program. And I think even if they fire Steve Wojciechowski, though, I don't think that solved the problem. You can't just scapegoat one person. They might have to clean house, I would say.
I think if they did fire him, it would be more of a start of a process. It wouldn't necessarily be they sub somebody else in and they win tournament games next year. I think it would be the start of a process. And if the university looks at the men's basketball program, which is, the key revenue building piece of just this whole campus as a whole, but if they're willing to invest in that and they're really confident in bringing somebody else in to start the process.
But do you think if they fired him that first years like Dawson Garcia and Justin Lewis, who came here for him, and DJ Carton, who transferred for him, would try to transfer somewhere else and leave because they've already built this great relationship with Wojo?
Well, we don't know how great of a relationship it is, first off. I mean, no speculation or anything, but we don't know. And yeah, that's always the worry of when you make a big change like that in a program, what kind of, secondary effects does that have? And losing Dawson Garcia and Justin Lewis potentially, we have no idea if that's what's going to happen. But if that were the case, I mean, yeah, you're starting from zero. But you know what? Like Matt said, maybe that's okay in this case. I mean, this whole conference right now is, I think, at a pretty low point. So, you can do some reflecting. Nova isn't the team they were the last few years. Are they going to get back to that? Yeah, of course. Jay Wright is the best coach in this conference. But, maybe there's a point in these next 2 or 3 years where they can make a move, where they can make something happen, bring in someone new to give this program some energy. And, I think that's the kind of thing that you need to start looking at right now. Not necessarily, does this one guy that we're going to bring in to be the head coach fix everything? That's not going to happen. But you've got to start laying the foundation to set this program up for success. And I think after 7 years of Steve Wojciechowski, they know the answer to that with him. And now it just depends on, do they want to make a decision on it?
Yeah, and after looking at these last couple of seasons, and also they beat Wisconsin earlier in the year, and everyone thought they were going to be great. I mean, everyone was high hopes, but what is the biggest thing that this team needs to address between now and next season in order to not let the fans down? Because the fans are the ones that want to go to these games, and if they see that it's just the same rotation of not great play, why would they want to waste their time going for a team that doesn't win?
All right, well, let's assume that Wojo's going to stay in this scenario and all the players are going to stay, other than, of course, the seniors that had their seasons ended. But I think the biggest thing, we've mentioned it on the show before, is just finding and establishing a true identity. I mean, the biggest guy I'm looking at right now is DJ Carton. You know, he was really the only one who showed up against Georgetown. But coming into this season, he wasn't even the starting point guard. You know, he had a long layoff of not playing basketball. So, but next year, you establish him as the guy alongside Dawson Garcia. You have those two ready to go, ready to compete to be like first team Big East. Maybe that's the goal you set for them. And then you build around that with Justin Lewis in there as well. Greg Elliott is kind of a veteran leader. I think you just establish, particularly an offensive identity. You know, this team in the past was a very good offensive team and then, you know, tried to survive defensively.
Right.
Then they tried to kind of make the switch to being a more defensive-focused team. Hasn't really worked out. This season, their big problem was offensive inconsistency. They'd look like the best scoring team in the conference one day, but most of the time they would be towards the bottom. So figure out an offensive identity, do the work you need to do defensively, and just ride your best players and your best talent.
I mean, I think, you know, one of the things that Wojo has done well for the most part these last couple of years, he has recruited really well. And so that's always going to be imperative in college sports, especially D1 basketball. Yeah. You've got to know what you have in the future lined up. And Marquette's got a good class coming in. They do. And so again, back to our previous point, if a move was made at the coaching position, could that affect transfers and decommits from guys that are signed into play? Yes, that could happen. But you can't worry about that right now. Like Matt said, they need to find an identity. They need to find out what this team is. Is it a hard-nosed, classic Big East team that's going to beat you out, be physical like they were in the early 2000s, and they had the star power of D. Wade to take them to that next level? Or are they going to be the offensive prowess of the Marcus Howard and Sam Hauser days where they would just outscore you, and that was good enough in some points? They need to find out what they want to do, and I agree. You know, Zoe, this team has good young players, but is that going to be enough? Can they get a grad transfer that comes in and makes a play? Can they really play someone, you know, get someone in the transfer portal? Those are all questions this team has to ask as well.
Right, and I think something that Matt brought up too, like, I think the offensive identity is the biggest thing. I mean, they've been consistent. They've been inconsistent because, you know, you see they've been down 18 and then they win, or they've been up 18 and they lose. So I think the biggest thing is they need to be hound on their defense because, you know, Steve Wojciechowski was Defensive Player of the Year, and you would think he would be able to get his defenses playing to that level.
I think the irony too there, going off that point, the guard play, especially at the point guard position, not necessarily offensive production because, you know, Marcus and Rousey, those guys aren't true point guards, but they put up a lot of points. It makes you scratch your head. This guy was such a stud at Duke when he played, and they haven't had a true ball handler in 7 years. And you saw it on display last night. DJ Carton, 8 turnovers in that game. So, I mean, they need to figure this out piece by piece. And truthfully, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy by any means. But they got to start.
And I think, too, something to mention about, especially like the offense, we're talking all about balanced offense. Okay, great. But then when nobody shows up by DJ Carton, that's an issue. Like, you can't have just one player scoring those 17 points like Marcus Howard did because you are not able to have that. And the balance is a huge issue.
Yeah, I totally agree. But we're out of time for this discussion. But thank you all for joining me. Be sure to tune in next week for all coverage of Marquette sports and more. For Shane Hogan, I'm Kristen Parisi. Good night.